triggered no alarms in her head. He was sent home with antibiotics.
Keep going.
She might have been living. She might have been living under a rock, man.
Have you ever been in a situation like that? Because I've been in a situation like that.
And you didn't know?
No. Well, I mean, is the article over? Because I'm sorry. I keep, like, when I touch the wrong thing on the iPad, it just goes to another one.
Regretfully, that information was not fully communicated through the full teams. As a result, the full import of that information wasn't factored into the full decision-making, Texas hospital official Mark Lester said.
The New York Times reported that neighbors saw him vomiting on the ground outside the apartment complex 2 days later as he was being hustled into an ambulance. His whole family was screaming. He got outside and he was throwing up all over the place, our neighbor said. Weeks told the Today Show that he actually called the CDC himself because he did not feel the hospital officials in Dallas were acting with enough urgency. I called CDC to get some action taken because I was concerned for his life and because he was not getting the appropriate care, Weeks said on television. And I feared that other people might get infected if he was not taken care of. Duncan, a former chauffeur from Liberia, is now in an isolation unit at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital while health officials monitor about 50 people who may have had contact with Duncan, including 9 believed to be at high risk for exposure. Duncan's family has been placed in quarantine, and the apartment where they lived has been sanitized by cleanup crews as much of Dallas trembles from fear.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, you know, what can you say?
So, do you think this is some
sinister plan?
Sinister, racist plot going on, Anselm?
Well, he ain't getting the Z map, man. He might be getting M map, but he ain't getting no Z map.
I find it interesting that no one at the hospital took that seriously.
Well, he's a little guy from West Africa.
Well, I mean, you know, I had a story like that. You want to hear my story?
Oh,
that
let me
was
hear
like
the story.
that?
Yeah. You went to Tanzania?
I went to Tanzania, but this was, let's see, how old is my son? Maybe 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago? Yeah, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And this was the first time I had heard of an outbreak of Ebola. But now, whatever, this outbreak was in West Africa. I'm all the way in East Africa. Mm-hmm. I'm also like 4 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. And I come home, and after about 2 weeks, I start getting this feeling of, you know, waves of heat and chills up and down my body, you know, and this dizziness going on in my head. Mm-hmm. Now, I just moved here, so I didn't know what hospital to go to. I thought of, you know, going to UMD.
You went into the hood.
Because it sounds like...
You went into the hood,
Well, because
man.
it sounded like a serious hospital.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about Livingston.
It's a serious hospital.
Yeah, if you're getting shot.
Yeah, man, you know.
So I go in this hospital. And
Whatever you do, don't take me west. Don't take me east. Take me west.
Listen, at university hospital, I thought it was going to be like a big deal. So I drove myself to this hospital. And, you know, and I'm like, listen, you know, I'm pregnant and I don't feel very well. And they ignored me for a while in the emergency room. And then finally, you know, when I got there and I said, listen, you know, I don't know. I think I might have malaria or something because I just came from East Africa. You just came from Africa? They swept me up so fast into a room. Then they put me in an isolation room and had this big quarantine sign on the outside. No, I could even use the phone. They wouldn't even let me touch a phone. And, you know, when you're in the hospital, you know, they'll keep talking and asking you the same question over and over again. And, you know, you could hear the nurses, you know, she says she might have malaria, but that's not what it, you know, it's tested. We don't see that, you know. And all they kept asking me is, you came from Africa. And I'm telling you, these people locked me up in this room, and they came in with those quarantine suits on, you know, with the mask over their head and everything. I mean, I felt like... Now, it's not like I'm assuming, so then they just gave me an IV, and ultimately all of these, symptoms I had went away. And I think it was just I had a touch of malaria, and I've had malaria like 3 times. So I figured that's what it was. So for them to just, I was coming from East Africa. This guy is coming from the country where this outbreak began, and I can't believe that no one at this hospital took him serious enough to have kept him in. If they did that to me, and I was only like 30 years old, and look what they just let this guy just walk about in the community. But no, I don't have Ebola, so don't look at me like that, because I would have been dead a long time ago. Crazy
stuff, isn't it, man?
Yes, it is.
Unbelievable. If we go over I haven't been to my good friend Jared. Jared, a young kid from Columbia High School. He has this new online news outlet called Place New Jersey. Well, it's not called Place New Jersey anymore. It's called Essex County Place now. Essex County Place. It used to be called, it's now called Essex County Place. And he has a story. New playground coming to South Orange Park. A new playground will be installed at the South Orange Park. Signs were recently posted at Farrell Field on Walton Avenue, and fencing around part of the park was torn down last month. You know where Farrell Field is, right?
No, I did not.
The Walton Avenue is like...
yes, I do. I know where that is. I know.
Maplewood Avenue starts at Walton Avenue.
Okay. I know where that is.
We're excitedly awaiting playground equipment, said Richard Bell, president of Farrell Park Field Park Conservancy. According to Bell, the village of South Orange is purchasing and installing a new playground equipment for Conservancy. Bell also told Essex County Place that South Orange Recreation Director Kate Schmidt worked with Conservancy Playground Committee co-chairs Marissa Tamayo and Nikki Irich to select a vendor and design the layout of the playground. The new playground will contain play areas for 2 to 5-year-old children and 5 to 12-year-old children, and new benches and a new wood carpet surface will be installed.
That's really exciting, Anselm.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm looking at this article here. 15 African-American celebrities who trace their ancestry back to specific countries in Africa. Would you go get a DNA test to find out exactly where your ancestry
from
may be from? And would you trust such a thing?
If it's free, yeah, I'd do it.
I think they're like the cheapest is maybe $120 that you can get this test.
$120?
$120.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Now, I've had people say, what purpose? Why would I need to do that?
Because I just want to know where my ancestors came from. My last name is Le Bon. Maybe I'm French.
I sort of doubt that, but...
What makes you doubt that? Like, my last name is Le Bon. That's
because
French.
You don't look very French. I mean, you got like a skinny head.
All of a sudden, French has a look now.
Yes, French has a look. Of course it does.
What look does French have?
Oh, my God.
You African American, do you have a certain look?
African American is not an original stock of people. It's a mixture of
What
people.
are you talking? It's not an original stock?
No, it's not. So these people are saying their ancestry is to, like when I looked at the article, a lot of them were their DNA states that they were from Cameroon or Guinea-Bissau.
Yeah. Cameroon is French.
Cameroon is a country in Africa.
I know, but don't they speak French?
They speak French because they were colonized by the French, but that doesn't make them French.
They don't have French passports?
I don't know if a Cameroonian has a French passport, but I know Cameroonians.
You know, Guadeloupe has French passports, right?
Yes, but that does not make them French.
You know, British Virgin Islands have British passports, right?
That does not make them British.
They were colonized by the British.
But that... Are you just messing with me, or do I have to give a history lesson yet again? Don't do that. That's not funny. You're scaring me.
You ever been to a place called Virgin Gorda in UBI?
No.
United States. No, it's It's the British Virgin Islands, BVI, and BVI, Virgin Gorda.
I've never been to any
is it
of those islands.
Is it Virgin British? But it is, man. There's a place in Union Island off of Union Island called Tobago Keys. I swear, It is the most pristine water I've ever seen at any beach. And here this. The government sold it to this guy for $1. Because at that point in time, there was no light over there, was nothing over there. And the government didn't see any value in it, so it sold it. The guy took it, he built a hotel, he built a private beach, and now it's one of the most expensive places to go in the Grenadines, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And even the people that live right next door, they can't go to the beach because it's a private beach. And if you go over there, they have these people come and chase you from the beach. So it's a private beach. That's how sometimes they do it in the Caribbean. They don't know.
Okay, that's great, but I'm asking you. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that you would like to know what part of Africa your ancestors come from.
Yeah, I want to know. I don't think, maybe my ancestors came from French.
I think that would make you happier, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't make me happy.
That's what you're saying?
No, because of my last name.
But our last names, I mean, generally, the last name was taken from the slave master.
You're right, because...
And so why would you... I mean, my last name is Lloyd. I'm not British, so why would you claim, French?
It's funny.
Oh, my God, Anselm.
We got to play this one. We got to look for this Malcolm X tape, where Malcolm X was in this debate with these guys and asking him, what's his father's name? He said, my father didn't know his name. Because the slave master gave him his name.
That's right.
He said, so you don't know your father's name? He said, my father didn't never know his name. He said, so what was your father's original name? He said, father don't know his original name. Because the slave masters gave him this name. Like, slave masters gave him whatever his name was. And just the way he debated these guys was from an intelligent perspective, in that they were trying to bait him into asking, well, your father
Yes, why are you taking on the name X?
Right.
What's wrong with Little?
Right. Malcolm Little, right. What's wrong with that name Little? And, I find that was very fascinating.
Now, so let us take it back to you, my dear. So because your last name is LeBourne, do you think that denotes some French ancestry? I mean, indeed, it may, but
I just want to know where it came from. How did my dad and them arrive at that name? How did they get that name?
Did you ever ask your father?
No, I never asked.
Did you ever ask any other LeBournes?
No, I never did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, at that time in Trinidad and Tobago, we were never really into that type of, history and your ancestry and stuff.
Well, why, why is it that we don't want to know?
No, I want to know now, but I didn't want to know back then. I was just happy to be, in the land of the living and having fun, and with a last name like... Let me give you a quick story.
Uh-oh.
In Trinidad and Tobago, and I know people listening in Trinidad and Tobago, some of them are going to be happy about this, and some of them are going to be unhappy, and they're going to say, I'm not telling the truth. In Trinidad and Tobago, we used to take a test. It was called the Common Entrance Test, that you had to take to go to another school, right? And I took the test, and I think so they were going to send me to a regular school, which is not as good as the other school the kids were going to. And at the last minute, I got what's called a late pass. So they called me like about 2 weeks before school and said, oh, Anselm, we made a mistake. You passed to one of the better schools. But in Trinidad, you used to go to these better schools based on your last names. Like if you had a Syrian last name, or if you had a French last name, or if you had a name that sounded really sophisticated, right? You went to the good schools.
What is a sophisticated sounding name?
Like LeBourne.
So you believe your name sounds sophisticated?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. At any rate, just keep going.
And it meant something.
I'm gonna let you go ahead.
It meant something. So at the last minute,
God help us.
Mm-hmm. I got this pass to go to one of the like second tier better schools in Trinidad and Tobago. And while all my friends who were more intelligent than me were going to like schools that were like, the fifth tier, like levels, but just in reverse, like in levels. Like,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So, and I couldn't understand why my friends, we living in the same neighborhood. It was called a planning. We didn't call it a project because it was only 4 stories high, and it was like 4 stories high and 4 apartments across. So there was like 2 apartments in the middle, a stair, apartment on this side,
Right, I can see that.
And